did you hear about the turkey that lost the fight? Well, he got the stuffing knocked out of him. Hey, Travis County, welcome back to Turkey Talk. It is that time of the year, especially this week, to start thinking about that holiday meal. I'm Tamara Schubert, your family consumer science educator for NMSU and Travis County Cooperative Extension Service. Join us this month as we talk about turkeys, the do's, the don'ts, and the how-tos leading up to Thanksgiving this week. The countdown is on. So we talked about purchasing a turkey and food safety when it comes to the big day, but today we're going to talk about defrosting and cooking. Remember that freezing meat stops the bacteria from growing, but it doesn't necessarily kill it. So as soon as that turkey begins to defrost, any bacteria that may have been present on the turkey prior to going in the freezer will start to grow again. So the USDA recommended method of defrosting a turkey is in the refrigerator. So if you're like me, you're always calculating when does that turkey have to come out of the freezer to be defrosted by Thanksgiving Day. Well, here's the key to use. Estimate 24 hours for every 4 to 5 pounds of turkey. So if you have a 15-pound bird, it will need to come out of the freezer 3 to 4 days prior to the time that you want to cook it. So if you've got a bird like this one, you want to make sure that you either took it out of the freezer last night or you took it out of the freezer this morning for it to be able to be defrosted according to the USDA recommendations by Thanksgiving Day. Now, if you do Thanksgiving on Friday or Saturday, depending on your family travel plans, you have some leeway in that. But if you plan on cooking on Thursday, now's the time to get moving. If you miss taking your bird out of the freezer, don't worry, you still have some great options to get that bird defrosted by the big day. The other method that you can use is the cold water method. So if you're using this method, you want to make sure that your turkey immediately goes into the oven or however you're going to cook it. To do this, we want to submerge this bird in cold water and change that water every 30 minutes. You want to calculate 30 minutes per pound. So that same 15-pound turkey that took the 3 to 4 days to defrost in the refrigerator will only take about 7.5, 8 hours to defrost in the cold water. But we do want to use cold water. A lot of people will be like, hey, I want to turn it to hot. It'll defrost that much faster. Here's the thing. When using hot water, parts of the meat start to cook or reach that temperature over 40 degrees. Now remember that danger zone for food is between 41 and 135. This is the zone that food or bacteria loves to grow really fast on food. So we want to get through those danger zones as quickly as possible. And that means sticking it in the oven right away to increase that temperature rapidly, or ensuring that our turkey stays under 40 degrees. And the way to do that is with cold water. Once those birds are defrosted and they're ready to cook, you have lots of methods, whether you're frying them, grilling them, baking them, roasting them, brining them. You have lots of methods to get this turkey on the table for the big day. But remember the key thing, no matter what method you're using, 165 degrees on internal temperature, okay? 165 is those magic numbers. So if it's going in the oven, here's the kind of guide for time frame that you may need. So if you're looking at an 8 to 12 pound bird, you're gonna give yourself 2.5 to 3 hours depending on how well regulated your oven temperatures are. So this turkey right here is about 18 pounds. This turkey is going to take close to 4.5 hours to cook. So while you're defrosting that, if you defrost it in the sink, you guys just did the calculations. You're gonna end up defrosting overnight to get that bird in the oven first thing Thursday morning, right? So be sure to plan out your day so that you have enough time to defrost and you have enough time to cook. Remember, when using a thermometer, that is a given choice to check those temperatures. When using a thermometer, we want to check in 3 different places. We want to check on the thickest part of the breast, in between the drumsticks, and in between the wings. 3 different places at 165. We do want to make sure that those thermometer probes go in at least 1/2 of an inch. So you'll see parts of the bird that are thinner meat. You want that in 1/2 of an inch to give that temperature reading. If you are in the breast of the chicken, we want to make sure that those temperature probes go at least 2 inches in without hitting the bone. If we hit that bone, that temperature is going to spike because our bones get hotter than our meats do. Here's the other thing to keep in mind when we are preparing for that big day. Many of us like to stuff turkeys with that stuffing. Here's the rule to keep in mind. That stuffing has to cook to that 165 degrees as well. And because the inside of the bird cooks slower than the outside of the bird, many times we're going to end up with meat in a turkey that is overdone by the time our stuffing gets to 165. So if you want a cheap method, stick that stuffing in a different pan and pre-cook it. That way when your turkey is all done and pulled out of the oven, you put that stuffing right in. Your display is the same, but we have followed some food safety and you can cook them right to the proper temperature and the proper doneness that you would like. The other things to keep in mind when we are cooking is many of us baste, and that involves some basting tools. And so what usually happens is we take that baster, we stick it in juice, whether it's done or undone, right? And we squirt it onto our turkey, and then we set that aside for 30 to 40 minutes and we baste again. What we want to remember is the juice that was in that baster has now set out at room temperature and bacteria has had a chance to grow. So if we're going to baste our turkeys, make sure that we're rinsing those basters in hot water to flush out any extra juice that may hang out until the next time we baste. Be sure to store those leftovers within 2 hours. You can join us next week. We're going to have a great recipe that you can use those leftovers for. Enjoy your holiday and your time for your families, and we will see you next week.